Hello and welcome to Sliders and Wings, a podcast about the TV show Sliders
and the TV show Wings
and all the other forgotten TV shows of the 90s.
I'm Valerie Temple.
And I'm Rachel Cox. Good evening, Val.
Good evening, Rachel.
To top it off, I want to say that we are interested in selling our souls for Instagram followers. So please find us on Instagram. It's been a very interesting journey because I had a flurry of activity where I was trying to go back and do a post for each of our episodes. And what I do know from Instagram is finding really great 90s images will attract some eyeballs.
Yeah, of course.
Like 90s fashion, 90s style, 90s tags all over it. I already said that the Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman one was really off the bat very popular, especially in, I think, Eastern Europe. But the Sybil one was very popular as well. Tagged Christine Baranski, of course.
The wildest Instagram engagement that I've noticed so far is for the Torkelsons. We got a like from a Brittany Murphy Stan account called
I didn't see that one.
Brittany Murphy Forever.
But anyway, you can see us on there. It's Sliders and Wings Pod. The show we're doing tonight is Touched by an Angel in honor of Christmas.
It's not the angel on top of your tree, but
what happened? Monty won't be bothering you anymore. Tell me there's a scientific explanation for this. God doesn't need science to explain himself. God? I'm an angel from God.
You're an angel. That is really hard to believe.
When you walk down the road, heavy burden, heavy load, I will rise and I will walk with you. I'll walk with you till the sun don't even shine. Walk with you every time I tell you I'll walk with you. Walk with you. Believe me, I'll walk with you.
Do you have a history with this show?
not really. I mean, just making fun of it for the entire time that it's ever existed.
It was created to be a joke.
Exactly. I mean, the title of the show is designed in a lab for teenagers to make fun of it.
This is like the prototypical Hallmark Channel show. It's the Hallmark Channel before it existed.
Yeah.
I assume this is what everything on the Hallmark Channel is.
But
like, I did cry both episodes we watched.
I knew it. The entire time I was watching it, I was like, is Rachel crying? Did she cry while she was watching this?
There's an abandoned child in the first one.
I know.
But I have never seen the show before, ever. I was a avowed agnostic in high school, so I would have been like, yuck, God, gross.
Yeah, I wouldn't have touched this show with a 10-foot pole. I mean, it just seems so lame.
My first thought in the first scene is that, maybe it's because I'm old now, but that the show seems so like dowdy and goofy and cheesy. And now I'm like, God, her body's banging. Look at her. Roma Downey's got a really nice body.
She does. The trivia about this show is really wild. There's so much. But one of the facts was that, at least according to Roma Downey, the first season of the show, most of the stuff that she wears, all of her costumes, is her own clothes. She claims that she was such a small size, the costumers had trouble finding clothes for her. And I was like, she's thin, but she's not. She's a regular woman. And also, she's wearing oversized 90s flowy dresses.
I will accept that there are sometimes people have strange proportions. I am very flat chested, but I have a huge rib cage. I'll put on a button down dress and it's tight on me, even though it is not being filled up. Like maybe she's got some sort of strange shape.
I am straight everywhere except my chest. Eam always describes my body type as a 2x4 with water balloons nailed to the front.
The Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah, that's right.
I got Kirsten Dunst on the brain because I watched the original Spider-Man today. You know, after the 20 years of this Marvel Universe garbage, go back and watch this one. It's good.
It is good.
Sam Raimi, Lucy Lawless has a little cameo in it. It's quick. The acting's good. It's just the right amount of special effects and explosions and things. It's not overwhelming.
I remember when it came out and really enjoying it. I was like, oh, this is fun.
I mean, maybe it's by nature that when you get to like the 10th thing. It's like a soap opera at this point. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
First one's like, a guy's bitten by a spider and he starts fighting crime.
Yes, I got it.
Sorry, I digressed. Touched by an Angel is an American fantasy drama television series that premiered on CBS. Like, of course, this could not have been on any other station. So it premiered in fall 94 and ran for a long time. I don't even know if we should call this a forgotten show. I mean, I think it's pretty remembered. 211 episodes.
But all of them are on YouTube for some reason.
Yeah, you'd think this would be streaming. It was clearly popular.
You would think. But the show was canceled after its first season. And it was another one of those shows that got a second life after a write-in campaign from the fans.
I did notice Charles Rocket in the pilot's credits. I thought that was strange. Charles Rocket was on Saturday Night Live in the 80s, and he's a funny guy.
He was the guy who was famously fired from Saturday Night Live for cursing on the air. Yeah, he plays the Angel of Death, but I think only for 6 episodes. If you're a fan of Touched by an Angel, the Angel of Death does become a main cast member, but it's played by a different actor. And that actor's name is John Dye. But what Charles Rocket and John Dye both have in common is that they are both dead now.
Oh, now.
Now, yeah. And they both had kind of tragic deaths too. So sad.
I have the theme song stuck in my head. I will walk with you. So it's got a hook. I liked it.
Della Reese singing it, baby.
Della Reese is good. The pilot is about Roma Downey is a regular angel, and I guess she used to be on search and rescue, whatever a search and rescue angel would do. But then she got promoted to, what do they call her, like a caseworker. It seems like she's got the Midwest, or I mean, we've only seen 2 episodes, but in the first one, she's somewhere in the desert, and then in the next one, she's in Des Moines.
The show was filmed in Salt Lake City. I think even when it was set in Des Moines, it was being shot.
I had in my notes, are these people obsessed with the desert? Because there's references to the desert in both episodes. The Bible's obsessed with the desert as well.
But if you're filming in Salt Lake City, like you can't avoid the desert. It's always on your mind.
It's not that interesting, but she has to help a little boy who first she thinks his mother's dead, but then it turns out the mother abandoned the family because the younger child had a crib death.
Is that the part where you cried?
I thought the little boy actor was really good. He's riding the buses by himself, and that I mean, I don't know. I put it on right before bed, and I like to be in bed at 11, and I only had like 20 minutes, and I said, I'll watch half now, and I'll watch the other half tomorrow, and I had to watch the whole thing because I had to see him reunited with his mom. But I guess the Roma Downey character is supposed to be a little bit rebellious because she doesn't follow orders. It's so dumb though. It's such a minor rebellion. Like she's supposed to stick with the boy, but she goes after the mom to talk to her too.
It's a bait and switch kind of. She's assigned to stay close to the boy, but instead she's like, well, actually, I'm going to go find his mom. That's what he needs.
She solves the problem. She convinces the mother that it wasn't her fault and she needs to be a mother to her first child, and she gets her to come home. I don't really know what she was going to accomplish under the original plan, which was just to like hang out and heal him in a week or something. Like most of these people just need therapy.
Yes, it's true.
She solved his problem, bringing the mother back. It was his primary problem. But the plots of both of these are kind of crazy. In the pilot, she goes to the desert because this is pre-internet, so she can't track the mom on Facebook. She goes to the desert based on the information she has, and she finds 2 women, and she thinks one is the mom, and she gets her to go to a bar where she knows that the husband will be, and he sees her and he runs up to her, but instead of being like, you're my wife, he says, you're under arrest. This doesn't make any sense. Coincidentally, the woman that has been working and being friends with his wife who ran away, he also is aware of who this other woman is because she's on the run from the FBI. But he doesn't work for the FBI. So he recognizes her in a dark bar as being on the FBI's most wanted list and tries to arrest her.
Yeah, then she leaves town. And Della Reese, who is Roma Downey's supervisor, but it seems like she's only supervising one angel. Seems like a sweet job. I'd like to see more angels that she's managing.
There's a lot. Well, I guess you're right that she does help out in both of these episodes we watched.
But Della Reese is like, see what you did? This is what you get for meddling.
The whole thing is meddling.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it seems like your job is. Also, she thinks that the other woman is the mom because the other woman is wearing a star necklace. And the mother has some sort of phrase she says about stars. And so Roma Downey sees this star necklace and she's like, this is her. So I'm going to focus my attention on her. Turns out it's the wrong woman. But then she's like, oh, I let this lady borrow my star necklace. And so I got it back.
It did look like a piece of jewelry that comes in the little machine outside the grocery store. It was just like a blue plastic
star. Yeah.
What I find funny about the whole thing is that these are omnipotent angels and they don't know who people are. Totally relying on guesswork and hunches.
Yeah, they are totally just completely in the dark about everything.
But then they're like, they can like make things appear and disappear and like transcend time and space. Put a little spell on the person, like zap into their brain and find who they are or whatever.
Yeah, you're right, Rachel.
That would cut each episode in half.
I know. You would save a lot of time that way because half of each episode is them trying to figure out who they're supposed to help.
Yeah. What if every episode was just them digging in people's brains, you know, making them think what they want to think and fixing them that way?
I did read that the original pilot for Touched by an Angel was much darker. They spent $2 million on this pilot. And the executive producer for the show, when they were trying to hire her or whatever, she watched it and she said she found it upsetting. So they hired her and they completely redid it.
The main thing that I found funny about the show is the thought that these are the people that need angels.
Oh, truly.
Relatively minor problems.
I was really amusing myself by just reading the plot synopsises for various episodes because the problems that these episodes cover are so low stakes. Like, listen to this one. It's an episode called A Delicate Balance. A mother spends all of her time focusing on her daughter's gymnastics career and does not notice her son feels neglected. That is the season 3 finale.
You're watching it thinking maybe these are the lower tier angels. Maybe the bigger angels are working with like the famines and the homicides.
I don't know. It's very minor problems. Very, very minor problems.
Also, it's very easy for the angels to get people to do what they want them to do because they just do something very supernatural to freak them out.
Also, they just straight up tell them, I'm an angel and I'm going to tell you exactly what you should do.
In the second one we watched, there's a scene where the mom is on the couch at her office. She's alone and she's upset. And then she turns around and Della Reese is there and she has no reaction. This person just appeared next to you on the couch.
And also Della Reese is like, well, I'm an angel. And she's like, I don't have time for jokes. She really does not care.
But there's a part where she's talking to the mom and she like shows a vision of the baby that died. And
oh God.
I think that mom was a very good actor. I mean, when people are good actors, they can sell it, right? She was crying. She was upset. I bought it.
That part was nuts though, because I guess whenever the angels reveal themselves to mortals, they just backlight them to all hell like a halo of light.
If they're indoors, it's just a spotlight.
Right, exactly. So when they're finally having this face-off about the baby, as Roma Downey is talking, the baby is superimposed onto her face and it looks nuts. It looked like the sun from Teletubbies, you know, with the baby face.
Oh, exactly. And the mother made a good point. She's like, why are you here now? Why didn't you come right before my baby died so I could prevent it? And Mom was like, oh, pish posh.
I was proud of that lady because that's a good point. That's a really good point.
None of this would have happened.
Maybe if these angels didn't waste their time on gymnastics competitions, turning scarves into doves.
She does wear a blossom hat. I can't remember which episode, but a straight up velvet blossom hat. But it's mentioned in the pilot she doesn't want to wear shoes, but she must be wearing them by season 2. You don't see actors' feet a lot.
No, but I think that was also sort of her rebellion a little. She's like, I don't want to wear shoes.
You want to move up in this organization or not?
You got to follow the dress code, Monica.
Okay, so the large bulk of my notes are about the second episode we watched.
Yeah.
You want to take it away? It was your idea to watch it.
It was. I did want to watch a second one. And this show, it's another like quantum leap type of show where it's a new story each week. So it's a very good venue for guest stars. And there's 1,000 amazing guest stars that made their way through this show. And so I was kind of like cycling through. I stopped on an episode with Allison Hannigan and I was like, maybe. And then I scrolled a little more and I was like, oh, Melissa Joan Hart. All right, this is the one I'm going to watch.
It was very 90s. I mean, the mother's a radio show host and the daughter works at a CD store.
Yeah, she works at a CD store named Music and Video. Yeah, Melissa Joan Hart and James Marsden billed as Jimmy Marsden, and Jack Black briefly. Just one scene. Oh, I wanted more. It was a good call to watch this episode. It was a lot more fun. The first one, it really gives you an idea of what the show is like, but it leans in hard on the schmaltz. It's very, very sappy. Very, very sappy.
So basically, the mom does this talk show. It's supposed to be like a Howard Stern, like a shock jock, but she's just like mean to people. People call up and she just hangs up on them. One of them says, "Hey, my name's Mel." And she goes, "You better be Mel Gibson."
It was so funny.
Unless you're Mel Gibson, I'm gonna hang up on you.
She's like calling everybody farmers.
You can tell that it's very artless. It's done poorly. She's so desperate for these ratings because she's a single mom, because she's hurt from the husband leaving her years ago, and she never wants to love again. There's just a lot of stuff going on. But she's desperate to keep this job, so she uses her daughter as fodder on the show.
Yeah, she sells her out.
What I really don't understand is why the daughter's coworkers insist on turning that radio show on every day.
I know. Stop listening to the show. Stop listening to your mom on the radio. Nothing good will come of it.
I thought it was kind of funny when the girl comes up to her in the library and starts analyzing her mom and about why she does it. And then Claire, she gets really mad and they end up having a fight.
She gets her in a headlock.
I know the girl wasn't being nice, but she was actually being very insightful. Divorced women, often their feelings are misplaced, and so they just put them in the wrong place, and that's what your mom is doing. She doesn't mean to manipulate you. She just doesn't know what to do with their negative emotions. I was like, oh, this is all correct.
It's true. But Melissa Joan Hart is like, you stop that!
Melissa Joan Hart is stretched to the lengths of her acting abilities here. I mean,
correct.
This character in real life would be so petulant and upset. She'd be at the end of her rope at all times. And she's very kind of even keeled. I don't know. She's not as annoyed as she should be, honestly.
Yeah, she's vaguely miffed about it until her mother really pushes it to the breaking point, which is when she basically whores her daughter out on the radio. She's like, my daughter doesn't have a date to the prom, so
call her a 7 out of 10.
I know.
She's a 7 out of 10.
So the mom is inviting callers to compete to be her daughter's
she's been
date.
Threatened that they're basically going to fire her unless she ups the ratings.
And so this is her Hail Mary. She couldn't think of anything else. She's like on the fly, like, oh, I guess I'll just sell my daughter down the river. And truly, when this happens, I really thought about what that would be like as a teenager. And I was so humiliated.
Well, it reminded me of how every few years there's a story about some girl online auctioning off her virginity. But where I thought they were going to go with it is that they found a way to insert Della Reese's Angel character into it. She announces a contest and then they just start it the next day or something. The timeline doesn't make sense, but she's like, call in and you can basically come and be my co-host for a week. And then Della Reese magically makes herself win. And so she's just hanging around all the time, but also doing the show with her. But then when they do the show together, their banter is much better. Why doesn't she just go to the radio management and go, here's the new format. Like I'll be the mean one and she'll be the nice one and we'll feed off each other.
There was a lot of stuff that they introduced and I thought they were going to go one way and then they just completely dropped it. The whole contest about her daughter and her date to the prom, that goes nowhere. Because
this guy's about to ask her out at the store. She's checking him out when that comes on the radio and he hears it. He goes, oh, never mind. And he leaves.
He's like, I changed my mind.
And then after she makes up with her mom, suddenly she's at the prom with him. Oh, how did that happen?
Yeah.
For me, the most confusing part is James Marsden's character. He's in the first scene. He's a bad word, but he's bragging about how much stuff he steals. And he's like, hey, you like this jacket? She's like, yeah, it's cool. And he goes, I stole it. I can get you one too. And she's like, okay. So I thought, okay, so this is like a guy she likes and he's tempting her to do bad stuff. But then you don't see him for a long time. And then you see him again, and then she's complaining about she doesn't have a date to the prom. And then
he asks her. And she's like, and they're like, gross. Get away. Yeah. And James Marsden is 1,000 times hotter than the other guy that she has a crush on. And I was confused by that too. I was like, well, why didn't she just go with him? They don't even let this character make a bad choice.
There are guys at high school who, if you stripped off all the differentiators and you looked at two of them and you say, oh, this one is way more attractive than the other one, but like the first one has gross hair and dresses weird. I don't think they did a good enough job of making James Marsden seem that way. He's not given enough screen time. I think that he's got some sort of reputation that turns people off.
There was a very hilarious bit where I think it's after he asked her out and she's like, gross, no. And he's like, I'm going to steal something. He takes the CD and really elaborately puts it into his jacket and walks off. This is just the most unsubtle way to shoplift. You're caught, buddy.
he was making a point. It just wasn't in line with the rest of the show. Like he was
No.
saying, why aren't you stopping me? She was supposed to stop him because she worked there. Well, I didn't understand any of it.
I don't know. I've worked retail before. They tell you not to chase the shoplifters. That's for security. Sorry. I worked at Nordstrom, and the sales associates, they are very strongly discouraged from interacting with people at all in that way. But you can also, word to the wise, return literally anything to Nordstrom without a receipt, because they are very committed to a positive experience for everyone. You just have to know that if you are being shady, you'll get that money once, but then you'll be flagged for the rest of your life. But also, James Marsden character also exists because he is a window into the dark side. And when Melissa Joan Hart is finally fed up and wants to leave town, James Marsden can take her to a guy that can, what is he like?
I thought he was taking her to some sort of flop house for runaways, but he was instead taking her to someone who was going to buy stolen CDs from her. That was the funniest thing. She was supposed to get him 5 new CDs a week.
5 new CDs a day for a month.
And then he would give her airfare money somewhere.
They were trying to negotiate it, but all of the bargaining chips were CD based. No, I won't do 5 CDs a day, but I will do 200 CDs all at once.
I'm going to steal a whole box and I'm just going to run out with it. And the guy's played by Jack Black. Right when that is about to happen, he starts acting all sketchy and shady. Monica, the main angel, pops in and basically zaps him to the desert. She says, you better stop talking because you've got to find your way home.
And Aaron, we're watching this and he's like, that's how you kill people, by the way. Now he is lost in the desert. He has no idea where he is.
Could have taken him just 10 blocks away. That would have been fine.
I was very disappointed that Jack Black, his scene was so abbreviated. Just one scene, it was so short. And
he just looks her up and down and starts talking about CDs and then that's it.
The show is not surprisingly very chaste. Basically, Jack Black's character is like, well, there's another way you can get some money from me. So right before he's about to be like, you can suck my dick and I'll give you money. That's when Roma Downey's like, nope. So we don't even get that scene at all. We don't even get that dialogue. The mere hint of it is she's like, okay, shutting it down.
There has to be a little accent corner. So Roma Downey is Irish.
She is?
I'm
just kidding.
Don't even.
Her IMDb trivia says that she once was not cast in an Irish Spring commercial because they didn't think she sounded Irish enough. And I was like, I don't believe that either. I don't believe any of this.
Roma, you're full of lies.
Yeah, you're lying. There's something musical about the way she talks that you do get sort of hypnotized by what she's saying. It's like a tinkling of, oh, I'm Monica, and I'm here to save you.
Is she the one that married Mark Burnett?
Yes.
Okay.
So she is married to Mark Burnett, who created Survivor, created The Apprentice, created The Voice. So they are so rich. She is the head of MGM's Faith and Family division. So she's producing all these faith-based movies and shows and all sorts of stuff. She keeps busy. And Della Reese is really fun. She's got a real personality. So they are kind of a funny duo. I wish the writing of the show was better, but they are a fun pair.
But I thought it was funny in the first episode, we get a little inkling into what the nature of the actual angels are because she says, all right, be careful now. You've never taken human form for more than a few minutes. Now don't eat too much food or you'll get like me. She's just something like, I gained all this weight when I was the food taster for Caesar.
That was the first scene of the first episode. I was like, a fat joke already. Wow. Classy show.
I was like, okay, so you, with your particular vernacular and accent and everything, were in ancient Rome. I was the first gospel singer in Rome.
I buy it, Rachel. Come on.
The lesson I've learned from doing this podcast is I just, I can't do story of the week unless it's going to be real scandalous. Yeah, murders, I guess.
I mean, there's got to be some murders on this show. Where are these murders?
What's your most 90s?
Okay, my most 90s thing is from that episode with Melissa Joan Hart. So the episode opens up with Roma Downey and Della Reese at this CD store, music and video. Roma Downey's got these headphones on and she's like, oh, what is this music? And Della Reese picks up a CD and she says, Amphibian the Moist Screwdriver.
Toad the Wet Sprocket.
Toad the Wet
It's
Sprocket.
briefly my dad's favorite band.
Toad the Wet Sprocket.
Yeah, he
Yes.
loved that band.
Oh, and I also just wanted to tell you that Aaron has just been singing the theme song for The Heights, but with Now I'm Touched by an Angel. The first time he did it, though, I was like, is this a song? What are you doing?
My most 90s is the CD stealing scam.
It did make me remember how CD packaging looked back then.
Oh yeah, the big like a
Yeah.
plastic skeleton that would hold it. You
like-
needed a key to get it out.
Twice the size of an actual CD.
Okay, I'm very proud of my Mad magazine.
Okay, all right.
Touched in the head.
That's good. That's better than mine, actually.
Actually,
I didn't mean it that way.
I've been actively putting more effort into this.
Oh,
because
good.
I've been doing such a bad job.
Don't worry about it. The bad ones are just as good as the good ones, I think, in my opinion. So mine is botched by an angle. It doesn't really make sense,
No.
but botched definitely is a mad word.
How about
And
something
then
with touche?
Aaron's idea was touche an angel.
Oh, well, that was interesting. First time I've seen Touched by an Angel.
And probably the last.
It's so funny. I'll watch a show, I'll get really into it. I'm like, yeah, that's it. I don't need to watch any more of that.
That's enough.
So for what you're watching, I have to ask if you have or will watch the Sex and the City.
Oh, probably not.
At some point in my life, I watched every episode once. I don't really get it, but I do feel compelled to watch it.
Yeah.
And I happen to have HBO. So I know I'm always bringing up that I've hit 40, 41. It affects everything I do and say and see. But the last Sex and the City movie was like 10 years ago. And they were well preserved 45, whatever, to 50-year-olds. And they were traipsing around Morocco and having sex with whoever and doing whatever. And now they are geriatric. And it is so startling. I mean, I kind of like it in a weird way. I do feel like it's realistic, but like Steve can't hear. He's like hard of hearing and his hair's gone gray. So like, I don't know why he's here. Like he's just like someone's grandpa. Like, huh? What are they saying?
Oh my God, that's really.
Miranda is going back to school for some reason and she keeps putting her foot in her mouth with the other students by not being basically woke enough or culturally aware enough. And I was talking about it with a friend of mine and she was like, they did Miranda dirty because I would have been on top of that and that would not have happened to her. Samantha is supposed to be just off somewhere or whatever. And then Kristen Davis has ruined her face. It's smooth but lumpy. At a certain point, you're trading wrinkles for irregular lumps.
Whew.
It's been 10 years, but it's like, I know what happened, which is when those Sex and the City movies came out, they were incredibly youthful for the ages they were. And now they just pushed into a part where like they couldn't maintain it anymore. And it seems so alarming.
That sounds depressing. Who wants to watch that?
It
It's watching Sex and the City turn into the Golden
There's no
Girls.
sex.
Oh, great. Yeah, so it doesn't sound like I'm going to watch that. It took me a lot to watch Sex and the City for the first time. I didn't watch it at all while it was actually airing. And then after it ended, I watched the first episode and the last episode just so I would understand vaguely what people were saying, like what they were referencing, mainly so I would kind of understand more what people meant when they said, "You're such a Miranda," which is what I got a lot.
I'm a Miranda. You're anyone that you and I would.
Anyone good is a Miranda, so it's not offensive. But then I did end up watching all of it at some point. It was fine. I just didn't love it.
There's something strange about it because they have no families or family members or siblings or parents. It's like they live in kind of this strange bubble, like isolation from the outside world, not only within New York, but from any attachments. I never got it.
I didn't understand their whole friendship. To me, it seemed like the three other girls were mainly just friends with Carrie and tolerated the others.
Yes.
It wasn't a group of four best friends They all were best friends with Carrie.
I read the original book, and the book is really just a loose collection of essays about
Sure.
different people. They did take some source material and just kind of,
Mash it together.
and I know for a lot of people it's just like a fantasy thing, but I guess I just always found it hard to relate to.
It doesn't feel real in any way to me. And for it to be a show that is such a touchstone for a lot of women, they're like, this is my life. And I was like, is it? That's depressing if it is. I did go see the first Sex and the City movie on my birthday with a group of friends. It just felt like something we had to do. Even for a person who did not care that much about the show, I was like, I guess we have to. And then on the way to the theater, there was an extremely Miranda moment that happened to me where we're all dressed up in these cute dresses. We're walking down the street in Boston. We walk over a grate. And there's all this air that is forced up and it blows my dress completely over my head. It was super embarrassing. I was like, oh. Meanwhile, Miranda is doing something humiliating.
This has nothing to do with anything, but I'm so disappointed by who Gwen Stefani has become.
Me too.
She was a little titty role model for me. She was like a punk girl and she sang and she had braces and she dyed her hair pink and now she faces all fillers and I don't know.
She's married to Blake Shelton. Would you like to know what she's doing? She was on The Voice for a long time. She's friends with Mark Burnett, I guess. I bet she's had dinner with Roma Downey. She's been touched by an angels. And don't you think that's BANANANS?
This has been Sliders and Wings with Rachel. You can email us at slidersandwings@gmail.com.
See you next week. Bye.